Hey, welcome back to another episode of Gear Talk, where we are connecting reliability professionals with reliable information. Of course, I'm Wes Cash, and I'm excited with our guest here today, and in-studio guest too, Jody Parsons. So Jody is a executive and leadership development coach. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about transformational leadership and probably how it can impact you as you're trying to make changes in your reliability program, your lubrication programs at your facility. So Jody, thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, Wes, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Now, part of this is we want to make sure that people understand the individual that the information is coming from. So do you mind giving us a little bit of background?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Jody Parsons. I have a doctorate degree from the University of Oklahoma.
Yep.
I studied education there. In a former life, I was a school teacher and a school principal for about 16 years. When I was writing my dissertation for the doctorate degree that I have, I became really interested in leadership as a topic. Always been interested in leadership, but a lot of my colleagues who are going on to continue to be school principals or superintendents were writing about student outcomes and student measurement and these sorts of things. I wrote about leadership. What I wrote about specifically was if somebody wants to become more transformational in their leadership, how do they do that? What factors into that? And so after I finished the dissertation, I thought, I'd like to do some work that's more transformational myself. Leading a school is great, but it kind of ran its course. And then I got into leading leaders and developing leaders, and that leads me to the work that I do now.
Now, I've heard you say in the past, you got transactional leadership,
Right.
You've got transformational leadership. You mind kind of
Sure.
talking a little bit about this?
So it's not like as we're leading, we always know exactly what style we're in. There are lots of different leadership styles.
Right.
It's good to point out the exact opposite of transformational leadership is transactional leadership. Okay. So there are times if I get pulled over driving and I get a speeding ticket, that's a transaction. I've earned it. There was an infraction and I'm being penalized for that infraction. A lot of transactional leadership is like that. And that's a part of leadership. We can't discount that.
Okay.
When the majority of leadership is transactional, then employees experience negative results. However,
is this leaning more towards you're leading by authority just because of the
Right.
position that you're in?
Right.
Less so than...
Which worked at the Industrial Revolution.
Sure.
Doesn't work so much today.
Right.
Transformational leadership then transforms followers and their approach to work, which thereby can transform the organization.
Okay.
Well, let's back that up a little bit. What needs transformed? Leaders may look at their company and say, no, we're doing fine. We don't need that. Let's just keep going status quo. Well, according to Gallup, which is the industry expert on measuring things, and they do a global state of the workplace report every year, 58% of our employees worldwide are disengaged in their job.
Meaning they just clock in, they just do what they do and then leave.
They're not negatively affecting the company or the bottom line, but they're not bought into the vision and mission the way that executives might believe they are.
Gotcha. 58%.
58% worldwide.
The majority at that point.
So there's work to be done. What do we want to transform? Well, let's start with employee engagement. Like if we don't know where else to start, let's start there.
Now, I think this is great because when we talk with our customers, we're consulting, we're trying to break the status quo, avoid things like downtime of equipment, unplanned failures. And obviously, if it's not acceptable right now, we need to change the way we're doing things. Naturally, there's reluctance, right? I've been doing it this way for decades. Why do I need to change it? Oh, this is just a flavor of the week. How do I know that it's not going to go away, in a month? You've got to hear this probably everywhere you go, right? So the industrial side isn't any different than maybe the professional side.
No, and I like to think about this from the lens of coaching.
Okay.
Coaches can last a long time, but they vary the players and they vary the plays.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way we've always done it may work. We don't know.
Right.
There may be a better way. Well, how can we figure that out if we're not interacting with those that are actually doing the lion's share of the work, thereby our employees, those in the plant, those doing the day-to-day transactions?
Now, there's a shift, globally as well, but here in the U.S., we're feeling it quite a bit, right? Generation retiring, having maybe less experience, or even in some cases, not as many people backfill some of those positions. So my gut tells me that this leadership approach is going to only become more and more important to get people to to do more, to not even just maintain the status quo, but to actually improve it with maybe fewer headcount or anything else. What do you typically see out there?
Yeah, so there are things AI can't do.
That's right.
Right, and those are all the things that people do. They can't relate to the company. They can't relate to the customer. Right,
That's right.
And so even if there are ways that our jobs are getting, I wouldn't say easier, but faster.
Yes.
And the connection to the person has to be the way around that. If we look at the statistics on those currently entering the workforce, enter the workforce and do this task because I'm the boss and I said so, is no longer a satisfactory leadership approach.
That's right.
Why? Why not do it this way? Can I have a seat at the table? I expect a seat at the table. I'm valuable. I have input to add. And if we step back and think about it, they probably do, because the customer is different. The employee is different.
Yes.
They're younger. There are different ways, and the world is changing so fast. Why wouldn't we tap into that resource?
I know my son, I tell him to do something. The first question is going to be, why? Yeah, exactly. So why would we not expect, that to occur in, any facility, worldwide? So, all right, you're a leadership development coach and executive, but let's talk maybe middle management.
Absolutely.
Someone was a lube tech, right? They very, very good at lube tech. Now they're getting moved up into lubrication supervisor or manager of some sort. I think we fall into this trap. You're really good at your job, so you have to be a good leader as well, right? Where would you start with someone like that? What are some of those maybe pitfalls that they fall into? How would you develop? How would you coach?
I wanted people to know when I was first a leader, Wes, that I had earned the position. So I went around spouting how much I knew and what people should do differently.
Okay.
But I'd already earned the position. The leaders had decided I could lead this certain aspect. When I began to really transform as a leader was when I began to ask questions, not why did you do that, but what and how questions. What led you to make that choice? Oh, well, how would it look if you did it this way? Instead of telling people what to do, then I'm inviting them to the table by asking them questions. And so what I would tell a new leader through coaching, and now coaching is, we have a common goal, and I ask you questions to help you get there.
Gotcha.
But I would kind of train or direct a new leader to ask questions and be curious. You obviously know it. You should know it. You were put in the position to know it. But that doesn't mean you have to go around telling everybody you know it.
So you feel like there's, I grew up on a farm, so I use pretty simple terms, peacocking that's going around, right? Someone walking around, look at my plumage, right? I've got all this behind. Yeah. So no reason to do that. You're in the position because you earned the position, but then the people below you, I guess you could burn them out pretty quick. If you're just talking about how smart you are, how much you did, what you did, all of that, you need to get them involved in this conversation at some point.
There are two layers to this. One, let's go back to employee engagement. 58% of the employees in your workplace and in the world, 58% are disengaged. How do I engage them? Well, I can ask you questions. If you've ever been in the elevator with a C-suite executive like a CEO, a CMO, a CFO, they start asking you questions.
Right.
They don't have to know everything about you. They start asking questions, and then you're drawn to them because they were interested in you. The exact same thing works here.
Right. So with these questions, you said, the what and the how questions. So one of this is, what went well, maybe what went wrong, how would you do it differently? Do you have, kind of a something in your tool belt that you usually lead off with, or is it just is
absolutely.
It a personal one?
Two.
Go for
one
it.
Is what's working really well right now.
Okay.
Even if I were to walk up to someone in a plant, what's going really well with this system, with your day, with the operation? What would you change?
Okay. So now it probably disarms, right? Because what's going really well, people like giving good news or maybe good information, as opposed to walking up and saying, what's messed up, what's going wrong. All right. So start with the positive side.
And the leader probably already knows. At most plants, they have some sort of data device, a computer station, even a mobile something, an iPad, a laptop, something where they know in real time how it's going.
Yeah, they've got their metrics.
They already know that. But you're going to get more information if you ask the people doing the work, what's going well today? What are you proud of?
Okay, so you start with that, and then I guess based on the response, this is where you go into the
What would you change?
What would you change
today? Oh, How would you do that?
Okay.
How can I support you in that?
So how does that impact the 58%, the nearly 60% of people that are disengaged?
All company vision and mission have something to do with people.
Yes.
Not bottom line. The vision and mission isn't going to be to increase sales every year by $1 billion. That's not going to be it. That may be the understood vision and mission.
Right.
But they're typically about people to do something.
Right.
So how do I engage people in that? I ask them what and how questions about what they are doing and what they would change so they buy into that overall idea. Vision and mission are abstract. You can show it to me,
yes,
but you can't show me how it works specifically, not like you could a machine that needs serviced.
Do you feel that people put too much emphasis into mission and vision?
I
find that interesting.
I think that as we move through leadership positions, our focus becomes different. And so we forget, as we get distance from the actual work, we forget what the actual work is like, and our work is to protect and enhance the overall company. Thereby, you get this focus on core values and vision and mission and protecting that legacy into the future and not so much about the day-to-day.
Do you try to weave that mission and vision into your coaching? So if you were reporting to me, or maybe let's do it the other way around, I'm reporting to you, would you be talking to me how my efforts, how my questions, how my improvements are impacting our mission, vision, core values?
There's a good chance, especially core values, if I knew them, right, if we were on the same team, and if it related to your goal. The best coaching, there are two parts of coaching. One is kind of that on-the-spot coaching, where we used to kind of just hover around as a manager and watch what people were doing and say, hey, flip that switch, or hey, tighten that. There's in that moment stuff. Hey, have you flipped that switch today? Hey, what would happen if you tighten that up? Why do you think that needs to be tightened up? That's in the moment. And then there's the coaching where somebody comes with a goal. You know what the overall goal is, and you've set aside time to work on that specific goal.
Would that goal be professional development in some cases? Hey, I've been doing this for a while. I'd really like to move into management.
We need to move 18% more this quarter in this direction to hit our metric.
Gotcha.
You can coach to a specific goal that way.
Okay.
So very specific or more general.
But the goal needs to be established, I guess.
You can't just come in and say, I want coaching.
Okay.
I mean, the Chiefs didn't show up before the Super Bowl and the coach go, what do you want to? Everybody want to practice offense today? That's not what the coach.
Right.
He has to know what the goal of the coachee is.
So it seems like early on you're asking these questions, but you also have to understand from the personal side. All right, what is your end goal? Where do you want to be?
And on the front side of that is trust and relationships. Right. If you don't trust me, and I don't have a caring business relationship with you, you're not going to be open to coaching. Right. And so, in fact, back to the Chiefs thing, when Travis ran up on the coach and everybody lost their mind, the coach didn't lose his mind. He knows his player. Right. He understands the passion. They have a trusting relationship that makes that possible. Right. I'm not saying acceptable, but possible, that the coach doesn't lose it in the moment. He knows the player. That's where we earn trust by doing these kind of in the moment support, question and answer.
Now, I'm told, you earn trust by a teaspoon, but you lose it by the gallon.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
Absolutely.
So what are those teaspoons? How do you gain that?
Yeah. What's working well today?
Those questions.
Start with that. Yeah. What would you change? Oh, how can I support you? Oh, okay.
Now, part of this is I've read a ton of books around leadership. I know you read a ton of this as well. You create an environment of psychological safety, right, to where they feel good answering those questions. Because I'd imagine a new leader, a new manager that just got promoted up may not have that psychological safety with the first person they come up. So they have to lay quite a bit of groundwork there. Is that
absolutely? And these questions would do that from day one to day 3,962. 10 years later, 11 years later, it would. Hey, what's working well today?
Yeah.
What would you change? How can I help you? I mean, these are standard questions that can earn trust, build trust, and maintain trust.
I just find it fascinating, right? You're boiling it down into two very simple questions to ask. Is this something that you feel like you fell into? Is it something that you think you've gleaned from all your experience?
When I was a school principal, I would observe teachers all the time and just want to make suggestions.
Okay.
but I wasn't in their classroom all day,
Okay.
every day. And I taught English. So what can I possibly tell a math teacher?
Gotcha. Two different subjects.
So I had to learn how to coach teachers and give feedback to teachers in a ubiquitous way that was helpful for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And which is where I came up with this. Hey, do you remember in your classroom that one moment when this happened? Yeah. What was that about? What would it have looked like if you did this? How would it change the outcome if you did that? And started asking questions based on a model like that.
Questions here. Now, I'm a firm believer in personal development. I know you are as well. What's kind of on your docket right now? Like, what are you researching? What are you reading?
Yes, my favorite leadership author, I call him a mentor I'll never meet, probably never meet, is Adam Grant. He's an organizational psychologist, teaches at the Wharton School of Business, has a weekly podcast called Rethinking, and his latest book is Hidden Potential.
Okay.
So I'm reading through. I set aside time every day, 30 minutes. The last 30 minutes of my day, I read and highlight a leadership book.
Really?
I build it into my calendar. It's protected time.
Every day?
Every day.
How important do you think that is for your development? And when you're coaching people, how important is it that you tell them they need to set aside time?
For me, that's how I learn best.
Okay.
I was a student and I was a teacher. I love being a student. So I want to read something, highlight it, take notes. It's important to me to set time aside to do that. That's a fuel for me.
Okay.
For somebody else, that may be a real drag.
Right.
But if I'm not taking steps to develop myself, I can't blame anyone else when I'm not developed.
So maybe in past experience, what have you seen work for people? Because I'm imagining, once again, industrial facility, there may not be 30 minutes, that they set aside. Yep. So they do have to do this maybe in the evenings at their home. They get home, there's stuff broken that needs to be worked on. The yard's 3 feet tall. They need to go out there and mow. Podcast, I guess, would be another one.
Lots of podcasts and Audible. You can listen to books. I mean, we have so much more information than we used to have. Why wouldn't we use it? The world is changing so quickly, and that includes the people that we're managing.
How important do you think is networking in all of this? Getting with like-minded people, maybe finding a group to join?
Yep. It kind of goes back to that mentorship. We used to think, have a mentor, and we would look to that mentor for advice. But really now we know through podcasts and maybe books, there are mentors you may never meet. Mm-hmm. There are mentors you can seek out in the moment, somebody in your field or in your place of business. And then there are mentors in your circle. Right. And that's where, joining some kind of a group or having an accountability group or a book club or anything like that. People that want to do well are going to find these things anyway. Right. It's that person that has been promoted to leader that isn't sure this is for them. They don't know how to lead. They want to lead. You've got to find the answer. And there are answers in podcasts and books and through mentors that we have such easy access to.
Something that works for me, I usually get up early anyway. There's a few people here where I work where we get together for breakfast regularly, have conversation around this. Now, yes, I read my free time and everything. I know that doesn't work for everyone, but I think you're right. I think if someone is truly passionate about their development, truly passionate about doing better, they're probably going to seek some of this stuff out.
James Clear is the author of a book called Atomic Habits. And he says when you want to start doing something new, tack it onto something you already do.
Yeah, habit stacking, I think was his method,
and so I love podcasts. I love stories. When I started in podcasts, I was listening to a lot of the murder, mystery, and whodunits now. But I also iron every Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
And so now when I iron, I listen to leadership podcasts.
So it's something that was already scheduled. Now you're just doing it. How much there's you Google leadership. There's millions of things. How do you parse your information? How do you just find something that you feel like resonates with you? I mean, how do you challenge yourself?
I'll listen to Adam Grant or somebody else, and they'll recommend a book or they'll mention an article or a report, and I'll start down that rabbit trail.
Now you've got a PhD, so I mean, research, all of this kind of goes, to your back here. How would you tell someone to start? Where would they start?
Find what you're interested in.
Okay.
I was interested in transformational leadership. This set me onto an entirely different career path. But what are you interested in? Having better conversations? Increasing productivity? Are you interested in leading through change? Are you interested in changing your mind about things? what? What do you start? Somewhere. I even keep a podcast journal where I'll write down the big ideas. And if I need something else to look into, I've got something circled there or a note. But again, I'm a learner. I like to write things down that way. Just start. The only way we make progress and get momentum is to start.
Now, this is so much on the soft skill side of things, right? A lot of people I work with is so much the hard skill, right? I need to learn how to do precision alignment to make sure things. If you were to give someone, and I know that we're running low on time, so maybe the last question I'll throw your way. If you wanted to transition someone to say, all right, maybe slow down on the hard skill a little bit and focus on the soft skill, because that's probably going to be scary for them.
The person you're working with on those hard skills will replace you. Are they ready?
Oh, there you go. Because that could be a very scary thought.
At every interaction, it's the technical piece, but it's also the soft skills piece. Am I doing both?
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, I want to give you the last word here. Is there anything that we didn't cover? And I want to make sure that people know where to find you, where to get in touch with you.
I'm Jody Parsons, easily found on LinkedIn is really the best way right now. I'm speaking at the Reliable Plant Conference for anybody that listening that may be coming to that. And just start. Just start. Open the book, open the podcast, find something.
I very much appreciate your message here. I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people. We may invite you back to talk, dig in a little bit deeper.
Absolutely.
So very much appreciate your time here. And guys, thank you so much for joining us with another episode here of Gear Talk. Of course, if you have any comments or suggestions, you could always email us at podcast@nori.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again on our next episode.